The reason why we actually considered outsourcing to get the best resources to actually do the job, and we wanted to actually work with the best in the industry so that we could be able to match up the competition that was already existing in the industry. The entire process before onboarding is actually part of the interview. Number one aspect that will filter one agent from the other is how soon do you respond?
So you're saying the pitch begins before the pitch begins?
Yes. If you've not given me feedback, or rather if you're not engaging, then I stand there like a zombie. So it also discredits my work.
Okay.
So we are looking for an agency that will also give me credit at my job.
Okay.
An agency that is easy to work with.
Hi, welcome for breakfast. Thank you for joining me for breakfast today. I made some pancakes. I hope you like them.
Thank you.
Would you like to have some?
Yes, sure.
So we worked together at some point while you were working at Generic Foods. I wanted us to discuss a little bit about outsourcing, merchandising and other services or from an agency. What really made you decide to outsource? Why did you choose outsourcing?
First, the reason why we actually considered outsourcing other than doing it all in-house was to get the best resources to actually do the job.
Okay.
We had a new project that we wanted to launch in the Kenyan market, and we wanted to actually work with the best in the industry so that we could be able to match up with the competition that was already existing in the industry. So that was the main reason why we considered outsourcing.
Okay. How would you tell an agency that will deliver and one that will not deliver during your outsourcing process?
Interesting. Okay, since I was the one who was actually doing the bulk of the work of going through the proposals that were being sent in, number one aspect that would filter one agent from the other is how soon do you respond, and what's your customer service like during that period of engagement, because the entire process before onboarding is actually part of the interview of engaging an agency. So the back and forth that we are doing of what are our requirements, how will you meet the requirements, and how will you fit into the requirements, and even the budgeting and the proposal being sent in is part of the entire recruitment, or rather shortlisting kind of a thing. So how efficient are you? Are you giving feedback? If, for example, we have agreed you're going to deliver a proposal in this and this time, if you're not able to do it, are you updating early enough? Are you keeping tabs with the client about the processes, where you are? So they look like very small details, but they actually count.
So you're saying the pitch begins before the pitch begins?
Yes, it actually begins because seated at where I was, I'm reporting to somebody. So every other time when I'm updating them or giving them a report, I can't just go and say, maybe a question will come up like, how far are you with Upturn? If you've not given me feedback, or rather if you're not engaging, then I stand there like a zombie. So it also discredits my work. So we are looking for an agency that will also give me credit at my job. An agency that is easy to work with.
Okay.
Yes.
So when you decide this is the agency that you're going to use, how do you then communicate your need to them to make sure that they align with what your business objectives are?
It's all centered on the business goal. So we have to, during the onboarding process, we have to create more of we establish a communication channel that we are both comfortable with. So we are assuming we have already done the proposals, we have concluded we are onboarding Upturn. So the next thing is we'll schedule a meeting where we'll have to sit with also the stakeholders so that also the stakeholders' needs are met. Yes.
Okay. Do you like the pancakes?
Yes, they're nice. Very nice. I like the flavor.
Yeah.
There's something, I don't know. You've added peanut? I don't know.
Yes, I used Uno peanut powder. It's amazing. It's the first peanut powder in the country. So when you have a chance, just try it out. It gives your pancakes an unique flavor. You can also use it in other things, stews, sauces, soups. Makes them really pop in flavor.
Tastes really nice.
Yeah. So when you decide to outsource and you communicate your objectives to the agency, how then do you measure? How do you keep track of if those objectives are being met?
That's a good question. So, like in this case in point, we wanted, number one, product visibility. We also wanted to ensure that we also get sales out of it. So one thing that I've also noticed that maybe a client might not communicate directly. At the end of the day, they want revenue. They want cash in. So a client might present their goal as brand awareness or brand visibility. By the end of that visibility and awareness, they also want to get sales out of it. So in this case, we wanted both. We wanted brand visibility. We wanted also sales. So our key measuring indicator was the uptake in sales and also how good the people were responding to the brand. So the more noise we could see about the brand online or even offline, or the more retailers we could see reselling the products, that's how we could now measure and see, okay, the agency that we onboarded to actually do the work is actually doing the work.
Okay. And after the onboarding process, what would an agency do to give you the peace of mind to actually trust them with the project and you can focus on other things?
There's nothing really that an agency can do to make a client fully trust them before they can see the results. We will definitely look at your case studies, the brands that you have worked with before, how they are currently performing in the market. However, that's never enough guarantee to make a client sit back and say, well, I can now confidently give them and trust them until they see the first month's result or the second month's results. That's when now they start at least loosening up and trusting the process. Okay. So it's more of after you prove yourself in the first month, that's when now the client on the other side takes a back seat, kidogo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, why did you choose to work with Upturn as opposed to other agencies that pitched within the same time?
Number one was experience. Upturn was experienced in the area that we wanted to cover. We wanted to do trade marketing and van selling, and you showcased the experience in the area. Number two, I mentioned earlier, response. How soon are you responding to the client? Because at that particular moment, the onboarding was it was an urgent project. So we wanted also an agency that was actually immediately ready to take up the project. So Upturn was prepared. Upturn was prepared to take up the role. The other thing, it's the least, but it's also a factor, costs. So part of the onboarding is also evaluating whether the agency matches up with the current budget, marketing budget that the client has. So you have to take up the best, but also look at who meets the current budget that you have.
How do you strike the balance between good service and reasonable budget?
Sometimes good service outweighs the budget, because if an agency is offering you very good service, you go back to the shareholders and the key decision makers and you convince them that the outcome will outweigh whatever we are investing. So if I'm able to make a case of whatever we are going to get out of the overstretched budget is valuable to the company, then it becomes easier for the stakeholders and the directors to actually chip in more than they had initially foreseen. So sometimes the value that you want outweighs the budget aspect. That's why I say the budget is actually the least of the problems, because in not more than one cases, we've had an incidence where we had a budget of maybe 500,000 and we end up using more because the value that we will get from that service will outweigh that budget. So one of the fear, I'll call it a fear, that most clients have with engaging agencies is an agency will overpromise and end up under-delivering. Then it will become a back and forth, or rather a tug of war.
Yeah.
Of you did, you said, you didn't, you did.
Yeah. Okay, I think clarity is key when you're onboarding an agency as a client. So if your objective is visibility, is sales, is availability, how do you measure these things? And what support are you giving to the agency to ensure that this is done? And how is monitoring being done to make sure that we do not wait such a long period to discover it's not working? So the first thing is to communicate clearly. This is our objectives for recruiting an agency. This is how we'd like you to execute it. Or you can ask the agency, how do you think we should execute this for best results? So we would come together, draw something, draw mechanics, ask you for the kind of support that we require to actually get this job done. So when the agency then goes out and they receive the support they have requested or the mechanics that you've given them to execute that project, we monitor it. We can start bi-weekly or even every 2-3 days for starters, then weekly, then fortnightly, then monthly. Make sure everything is aligned. And whatever is getting missed out is being corrected real time, so that we don't have to wait for a long time to figure out it's not working. So communication both ways is very important from the beginning all the way through the process until the client is ready and confident to say, now you guys take this and run with it. Yeah, so with the agencies will of course say they will do it because they want the job, but it is very important for the client to communicate clearly this is why we are recruiting, and for the agency to seek the support they need to execute and make it clear.